Alright, test grading time. Let's see which version of the Flintstones we're dealing with today. We'll start with the TV script. Yabba-dabba-do! We're a lovable Stone Age family with wacky hijinks and dinosaur appliances. Okay, not bad. Classic line, strong start. Now let's see what the movie has to offer.
In a world where prehistoric corporate greed threatens the livelihood of Bedrock.
Why is there corporate greed in Bedrock? Hold on. Embezzlement? In the Flintstones? Quick! Do something silly! Okay, that's not fixing embezzlement. So one version is like, haha, rock go bonk. The other's like, Fred, you've committed capital fraud. And somehow we're reviewing both today. Well, I guess there's nothing to it but the yabba-dabba-do it. Roll the intro. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Big Screen Leap, the show where we take stories from words, pistols, and scripts and see how they land as Hollywood hits. I'm your host, William Redman. Today, we're going way back. Like prehistoric way back, where the appliances are alive, cars are foot-powered, and somehow, everybody still has a mortgage. That's right, we're talking about the Flintstones, the iconic 1960s cartoon that basically invented primetime television, and its 1994 live-action movie that said, what if we took everything you love and made it slightly more stressful? Because nothing screams family comedy like corporate fraud. But did the live-action movie live up to the hype that the TV show provided, or did it bam bam in theaters? Well, let's dive in and find out. Grab a Brontosaurus burger, and let's start with the plot. The original Flintstones cartoon premiered in 1960 and follows Fred Flintstone, your loud, impulsive, blue-collar everyman living in the prehistoric town of Bedrock. Fred works at a quarry for Mr. Slate, where his main job appears to be operating heavy machinery powered by dinosaurs, and occasionally trying not to get fired. Which, given his decision-making skills, is honestly impressive. He lives with his wife Wilma, who is patient, intelligent, and constantly asking herself how she ended up here. Also part of the Flintstone family is his daughter Pebbles and their pet dinosaur Dino. Next door to the Flintstones is the Rubble family. Barney, Fred's best friend, his wife Betty, and eventually their adopted son Bam Bam. Barney is Fred's loyal sidekick, the voice of encouragement, and occasionally the enabler. Barney is that one friend that says this is a terrible idea. But whatever, I'm in. The show is structured episodically, meaning each episode is its own story, and those stories are all rooted in everyday suburban life, but with a prehistoric twist. You've got episodes dealing with Fred trying to get rich quick, or messing up at work, Fred and Barney getting obsessed with a hobby, or something as dumb as Fred lying to his wife and immediately regretting it. Basically, Fred is chaos in a tie, but what makes the show work is its relatability. Underneath the dinosaurs and stone wheels, it's just about family, friendship, and the everyday struggles of life. It's about trying to provide for your family, messing up, and hoping your wife doesn't lock you out of the house at the end of the episode. And let's be honest, that yell covered 30% of the show's runtime. Over time, the show evolves. We get some more episodes dealing with Pebbles and Bam Bam, but the core remains the same. Fred gets into trouble, Barney helps him out while also getting himself into trouble, and Wilma at some point saves the day with a single look. You know what look I'm talking about, that I married into this kind of look. Now, let's jump to 1994. The Flintstones movie decides to take everything that we just talked about and give it a full cinematic narrative. We opened in Bedrock, and the first thing moviegoers thought was, wow, this is truly Bedrock brought to life. We meet Fred, played by John Goodman, and Barney, played by Rick Moranis. They're still working at the quarry, still best friends, and still trying to get through life one bad decision at a time. But right away, the movie introduces something new. Stakes. Barney and his wife Betty, played by Rosie O'Donnell, who I know a lot of people were upset at the time about the casting decision because she didn't look anything like her cartoon counterpart. But here on the Big Screen Leap, we don't judge people based on how they looked, but their acting ability, and she did fine. You know, it wasn't anything great, but it wasn't anything that negatively impacted the movie, in my opinion. Anyways, the Rebels want to adopt a child, but they can't afford it. So Fred loans the Rebels some money, and we get introduced to the movie's version of Bam Bam. Later on, Fred and Barney go to work and find out they have to take an aptitude test to see what their skills look like. Barney, feeling grateful to Fred and knowing he probably didn't do very well on the test, secretly switches their answers, resulting in Fred getting a promotion instead of him. Right here is where the movie starts to take the turn. Fred gets promoted to an executive position at Slate & Co. The first order of business he's given: fire the person who scored the lowest on the aptitude test, which just so happens to be Barney. Suddenly, their lives go in different directions. Fred enters the world of wealth, status, and giant ribs that top over cars. Okay, so that part stayed the same, but you know what I'm getting at. As Fred climbs the corporate ladder, he starts to change. He becomes more focused on money, status, and success, which, yeah, he did that in the show too, but not to the extent where he becomes less focused on his friends and family. Meanwhile, Barney and Betty struggle financially, creating tension between the two families. Here's where the movie introduces the main conflict. Fred is being set up. Cliff Vandercave, played by Big Screen Leap alumnus Kyle MacLachlan, who we saw on Dune, is the true villain of the story. He and his assistant, Sharon Stone... Sharon Stone, you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Played by Halle Berry, plan to use Fred as a scapegoat for embezzlement. As Fred realizes what's happening, everything comes crashing down. He loses his job, his reputation, and nearly loses his friendship with Barney. Even Pebbles and Wilma at one point walk out on Fred. But in classic Flintstones fashion, the story circles back to what matters most. Fred and Barney reconcile, exposes the villains, and restores their lives to normal. And like the show, everything resets. Although, it might take some time for Fred to recover from that corporate trauma. The original Flintstones was created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, two pioneers in animation. This wasn't just another cartoon, this was a prime-time animated sitcom. It aired on ABC at 8:30, right alongside with the live-action shows. The show ran for 6 seasons, becoming a massive hit and setting the stage for other adult animated shows to follow, such as The Simpsons and even Family Guy. Production-wise, the show relied on limited animation techniques, reusing backgrounds, looping movements, and focusing on voice acting and writing to carry the show. And it worked beautifully. Alan Reed as Fred, Mel Blanc as Barney, brought these characters to life in a way that transcended the animation limitations. Also, let's not forget to mention Mel Blanc was the voice of half of animation history. The guy was everywhere. The show also became a merchandising powerhouse, selling everything from toys to cereal to vitamins. Those last two, which are still going strong to this day. And yes, they even sold cigarettes at one point. That was a much different time in history. The 1994 movie ended up being a massive undertaking, and part of that was trying to make the set come to life. Universal Studios built enormous practical sets to recreate Bedrock. None of this was green screen. It was real, physical, immersive filmmaking. Foot-powered cars were built, dinosaurs were animatronic, the entire world was constructed to feel tangible. This was the kind of effort where somebody had to wake up and say, today, I build a dino dishwasher. Casting was a huge success for this movie. I already talked about many of the main players in the movie plot, but one person I forgot to add was Elizabeth Perkins, who played Wilma, and she totally rocked that role. If I think of someone who could embody a live-action version of Wilma, from looks to demeanor, it would be her. But behind the scenes, things got a little rocky. Okay, that's my last rock pun for the day. Maybe. The script went through dozens of rewrites. Over 30 writers contributed at different stages, leading to a final production that sometimes feels tonally inconsistent. You can definitely feel the shifts from comedy to drama to satire, all trying to coexist in this movie. Despite the mixed reviews, the movie was a box office success, which proves that nostalgia is a powerful thing. Let's talk about the similarities between the show and the movie, and there are some big wins here. For one, as mentioned before, the world building is incredible. The movie captures the look and feel of Bedrock almost perfectly. The characters feel authentic. Fred is still Fred, Barney is still Barney, and Wilma still has the I'm keeping this family together by sheer willpower energy. The humor, while different in execution, still leans on puns, visual gags, and situational comedy. If you like rock puns like I do, then this movie is your Super Bowl. While the similarities match up pretty well, the differences are where things get interesting. The biggest shift between the two is the tone. The show is light and episodic. The movie is heavier, more dramatic, and more focused on a single narrative. As I said before, Fred for the most part remains the same, but he does go through a bit of a change. Sure, we've seen him mean in the show before, but in the movie, he becomes a straight up jerk for part of it, even getting to the point of abandoning his family and friends. And yeah, it's realistic, but not quite as fun. Also, Pebbles and Bam Bam are barely in this movie, which is weird because the central focus of the movie is the rebels wanting to adopt Bam Bam. And yeah, when he comes in, he makes his appearance known. But after that, there's not much for him or Pebbles to do, which is a choice. Because honestly, the cartoon versions of these two could probably carry half of this movie. Finally, another difference is the pacing. The show thrives in short bursts, the movie stretched its story, and sometimes you feel it. So did the leap from show to movie work efficiently like a dino garbage disposal? Well, kind of. Let's talk about what the movie actually nailed. Visually, this might be one of the most faithful live-action adaptations ever made. I mean, Bedrock doesn't just look like the cartoon. It feels like someone took a Hanna-Barbera frame and said, alright, let's build that full size. You've got dinosaur-powered appliances, the stone houses, the quarry, the cars. Everything was there. It was tangible, practical. It was real. This wasn't green screen magic. This was somebody clocking in, rolling up their sleeves, and going to work to make this set come to life. Now let's talk about casting. John Goodman as Fred Flintstone is about as perfect as casting gets. He has the voice, the energy, the physicality. In my opinion, Goodman is Fred reincarnate. Rick Moranis, who is normally known for being the nerd, brings the warmth and innocence to Barney that makes you instantly root for him. And Wilma and Betty, they feel like real people pulled straight out of the cartoon world. The cast definitely understood the assignment. However, here's where things start to crack. The heart of the Flintstones. The thing that made the show work for 6 seasons is its simplicity. It's about everyday life, small problems, relatable moments. It's Fred and Barney messing up, Wilma helping to fix the problem, and everything resetting by the end of the episode. It's comfort TV. The movie didn't want to do that. It wanted to be bigger, more cinematic, more dramatic, and honestly, I can't blame them. I mean, what's the point of making a live-action movie if you aren't going to take those risks? But here's where the problems come in. The higher the stakes got, the further it drifted away from what made the Flintstones special. Suddenly, we're not just dealing with bowling leagues and get-rich-quick schemes. We're dealing with corporate corruption, embezzlement, and betrayal. In Bedrock. And don't get me wrong, the story itself isn't bad. In fact, there are moments where it really works. Fred's rise and fall, Barney's loyalty, the strain on their friendship, it's all compelling stuff. But it also changes how we see these characters. Fred goes from being a lovable goof to someone who's genuinely hard to root for at times. And while it adds depth, it also takes away some of the fun. The show thrives on liking these characters, even when they mess up. The movie asks us to question them, and that leads to a very different experience. But here's the thing, even with all that, there's still something charming about the movie. It's ambitious, it's detailed, it clearly loves the source material, and there are moments, little moments, where it feels like the show again. And in those moments, the leap works. So where do we land? The movie isn't a complete success, but it's not a failure either. It's kind of like Fred trying to do one of his get-rich-quick schemes. It's not going to be perfect, but man, he's really going to put his effort into it. So at the end, it's a decent leap, just with a wobbly landing. But honestly, if you grew up with this show, it's probably worth a visit back to Bedrock. Just maybe without the corporate scandal. But that's all the time that we have for today. Did you enjoy the movie, or do you think it should have stayed a show? Let me know down in the comments. If you liked the video you saw today, consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and ringing that notification bell so you're notified every time we post a video. Until next time, from page to screen and everything in between, this has been The Big Screen Leap. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a car to go start with my feet, a dinosaur to feed, and a wife to call for. Wilma! Yabba dabba, bye everyone.